Hello, this is Jared from Commit Quality, and in today's video we're going to be going over setting up a repository on GitHub. This is the more common approach when using Git. You'll want to connect to a remote repository which allows you to work with multiple team members, unlike the approaches we saw in the first kind of two videos or in the last two videos that were uploaded where we were just using Git locally. Now, GitHub is a common hosting platform when using Git, so we'll use GitHub as our hosting service to manage our Git repository. So if you haven't already, you want to log into GitHub. If you don't have an account, just click sign up, create a GitHub account, and you should be on the same looking page as I am. So to start this then, we want to go up to the top right, and you've got the plus with a drop down. Let's click that and say new repository. Now inside here, we can name it whatever we want. So I'm just going to say test, which we know is available. I'm not going to add a description, but you can if you want. And I keep it public so anyone can actually come and have a look at this repository throughout it. And tell you what, if I do keep it, I'll call it Git Learning, so anyone can come and have a look. I'm going to keep it public, like I said. Typically, you do want to add a README file, but I'm not going to add it for the purpose of this video. We can add a file in our kind of next step as an example. I'm not going to add any git ignore kind of templates or choose a license. I'm just going to click create repository. So with this created, you're then met with a few options. We're going to end up using the first option where we've added a new repository and we're just going to add a file to it because I'm common to this. However, you can create a new repository in the command line and then you can say, okay, add, say, a README or any kind of file and then commit it and push it up to the origin. Now, I'm going to cover this in a later video, but git push is a way of pushing local git repository code into your remote repository, which is what GitHub has. It's storing a remote repository. That's the one we just created. The -u flag here is just a way of saying track all the changes. So once you do this once on a branch, you don't need to do it again. And the origin just means it's the remote branch. Yeah, I'm going to worry too much about that because we're not going to use that. And the next thing we can do is we can push an existing Git repository. So like when we created one in the last video, you could push that up to here so it's tracked in GitHub. I'm happy to create videos on any of these two steps if anyone needs help on that, but let's just follow the steps for the quick setup. So what I'm going to say is get started by creating a new file. So let's click this. And inside here, you can add your new file. So I'm just going to say subscribe.txt. And inside the file, I'm going to say, have you subscribed? Okay. So now what I can do is I can scroll down and I can say commit new file. And now it's saying save in. And what we found is we now have our GitHub repo set up. And inside it, we have the subscribe.txt file. Now, what I also want to show you is cloning. So how do we now get this down onto our local machine? And how can we see subscribe? Because at the moment, it's all living inside GitHub, but we want to have that local repo. So what I can do is click on code and the drop down, and I can copy this HTTPS URL. I'm going to open up Git Bash. I'm already inside the folder I want to be in, so that's Git Playground. So let's just do an ls. There's nothing there, and we'll do an ls-a. There's nothing in here. So what I want to do now is say git space clone, and I'm going to paste that URL. And I'm going to hit, I of course have not copied it yet. There we are, that's copied. Let's try that again. Say paste, and hit enter. So now you can see it's cloning into Git Learning, which is the name of our repository. So now if I do ls, we can see we have Git Learning. So let's change directory into Git Learning, hit enter. And what you can see now is we're on the main branch, which is this branch. So if I do an ls in here, we can see we have subscribe.txt. So now we have that one file on our local machine inside the Git repo locally, and we can start making changes to all of this. So in the next video, we're going to kind of go over the basic workflow of Git, of how we stage, commit, push our changes, how we pull things down. As always, thank you for watching and have a good day.